Hey guys, welcome back for our doubleheader. Peyton Smith joining me, Greg Gurenlian here. We're going down the American East preview of the season for the face-off units. Last year we had Moynihan actually led the American East with 60%, Poma at 58%, and Vasquez at 55%. When we look at this American East Conference, what names kind of jump out for you overall?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of new faces in this conference. And I think a lot of the roster, they have a lot of, face-off guys on each team. I think a lot of them are bringing 3 to 4 guys and trying to figure it out. I think just off the bat, Tommy Berg from Vermont has been putting in a lot of work all over social media, seeing him doing his thing, working down in Florida. I think that even some of the guys from Hartford too, we played them last year and they were pretty tough. And I think just having Bolkin as a coach, having that actual face-off coach on your roster, it gives you so much of a boost for somebody who can just keep an eye on that the entire game. But it'll be interesting to see who kind of, takes the spot as the top guy in this conference for sure.
Yeah, the Corey Bolkin effect can't be spoken about enough because Corey Bolkin, for those who don't know, was a very successful college face-off man. He was a Major League Lacrosse face-off man. And he has been a very successful college coach. He was part of that Ohio State team that went to the championship when he worked with Jake Withers. So, I mean, he has a lot of experience, and he was a standing neutral grip face-off man. So that's what he knows. That's what he's good at. So having him there is really a settling effect for Hartford, who loses Vasquez. So, they're going to need that next guy. Now, when we look at, some of these names, if we look at Binghamton, I'm actually very interested. I know they have 2 sophomores, but I'm looking at Ross Chazanow from Dallas as a freshman. Super fast hands, low to the ground guy. I think he could be a difference maker on that roster.
Yeah, I think Binghamton, over the past years, they have struggled at faceoffs for, from time to time, but I think that they definitely need that spark. They've had some great teams over the year. So whoever up for them, it definitely has that opportunity to give a spark for their team because they've had talent. They have a pretty good coaching staff, and I think that they're, a good team. They just need to get back to some of their roots. And when they were really good is when they had really good faceoff guys. I think that freshman from Dallas, and even that sophomore from Virginia, always butcher his name, Dez was, how do you say that? Dezuas?
I mean, it looks like DeSalza.
Yeah, DeSalza. I've heard a couple of the guys that I've trained have worked with him and said, he's pretty talented as well. So we'll see. We'll see how he goes and what happens at Binghamton.
Yeah, and I'd love to see Brandon Rizzuto too. Brandon Rizzuto was St. Anthony's guy. He joined the program last year, but I haven't seen or heard from him. I don't know if he's doing SNG. I don't know what the deal is. So, when we look now at Hartford with the Bolkin effect, they get the transfer from Wilkes University, Moynihan. He was plus 60%. I think that's probably the guy that's going to see the bulk of the reps this year.
Yeah, I think there's been a few transfers at all levels, but I think, even though he's transferring from not a Division I school, it doesn't matter. I mean, if he has the skills that can play, it's a whole new ball game. Everybody's starting on a new playing field with standing neutral grip becoming the norm. So the guys that can adjust the best and do the right techniques are the ones that are going to succeed. So if you transferred from D3 to D1 or D2, wherever, I think that if you can step up to the plate and show you can do the highest level, you're going to get the time. So it'll be interesting to see what he does.
Yeah, NJIT, Gonzalez kind of jumps out. He's a 66% guy from last year. Gutierrez was 52% guy. If you're NJIT, I don't know if anybody's seen that campus lately, but their field is gorgeous. We actually practiced there at the Redwoods in 2019. Beautiful field house and everything they got going on right now. So I think they're going to be coming on the up and up as far as recruiting goes with this position. But when I look at NJIT, you got to feel good about what you have from an athletic standpoint on the sideline.
Yeah, I mean, it's even the confidence, even though it was knee down coming in off a 66% season, Gonzalez has got to feel confident, hey, I have, some skills that I can hopefully transition to these new rules. I think some of the guys, I think it's a two-way street where if you did really well last year on your knee, you can carry that confidence over. Or if you didn't do as well, you say, okay, clean slate, now I can step up and have higher percentage with these new rules. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on there. But I think definitely Gonzalez, if he can keep that up with the new rules and transition well, then he should be a guy to look out for as well.
Yeah, and in Stony Brook, they have a decent amount of guys on their roster. I'm pretty sure Tommy Kelly's still there facing as the faceoff coach, so that makes a big difference having that guy on the sideline for you. Austin Deskowitz had a really impressive freshman year when he came in last year. I think things slowed up a little bit for him, but from a standing neutral grip standpoint, I think he can definitely be a difference maker. I know, they have Conlon. He was like a 50% ish guy. Burns, he's a sophomore. If you're Stony Brook right now, I'd like to think that even though you don't have a guy who's coming back as like a world beater, you have to believe that Tommy Kelly on the sideline is going to make some kind of difference, at least from a game planning and wing standpoint, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think having TK there is definitely going to help out. Just having a set of eyes. I mean, just having a face-off coach is great. Just to have that set of eyes on you in the wing play, as well as the athletes out there. But I think Stony Brook, I mean, they recruit very well. They have really good athletes. They have a stronghold on Long Island where they get a lot of those guys to come play for them. And I think that if one of these guys can step up, their offense is great, and they can have a shot at the American East title. It'll be interesting to see if Deskowitz can come back and be that change up for the team and make an impact. So we'll see. But I think definitely having TK there is a huge advantage because not a lot of other teams in the conference have that at their disposal.
Yeah. And then there's three guys that I kind of want to talk about. You got Albany, Endress, who's a rookie from Victor, New York, where TD played at. He's very highly touted freshman. I think also Armstrong faced off with us a lot this offseason. He's a freshman from New Jersey for UMBC. And Tommy Burke, who started – so this is what – Tommy Burke for Vermont. Tommy graduated early, enrolled in the spring of last year to come right in and be the starting faceoff guy for Vermont, was above 50%, was doing very well. The season got cut short. And I have gotten a text message or a video clip from Tommy Burke 4 times a week for the last 9 months. He's ready to go. Tommy was back basically holding his own training camps down in Florida for anybody who was on vacation, wanted to face off with him. When you look at the young influx between those three guys, and I don't want to forget about Palmer either. Palmer's 58% for UMBC last year. But I kind of want to focus on these younger guys. You're coming in as a rook or a sophomore who wants to prove themselves, like Tommy Burke, in a conference which doesn't have any lights on fire studs right now, at least on paper from last year. You have to be pretty excited about what you can accomplish this year.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you just have to come with the right mindset. I think as a freshman or sophomore, sometimes you can put too much pressure on yourself and just think like, okay, I have to be this world beater 70% guy. But I think the guys who can just focus on, all right, I need to be as well-rounded as possible. All right, I can be great at top sidewalls. I can do counters. I can do bottom sidewalls. I can be a complete athlete, push transition. I think the freshmen sophomores that come in with that mindset that, hey, like, not only can I be really good, at the X and face-offs, but I can also push it down the field and be an athlete. And I think that Tommy and a bunch of these other guys who put in a lot of work at their craft will show that. But I think being able to give value to your team and your face-off unit is going to be huge, whatever that may be. So I think that's the mindset you got to come in with.
Yeah, and we touched on it earlier in a couple of the other episodes. When you have, it looks like on paper, who knows how this is going to shape up, right? We're trying our best to give people some kind of direction on this. But in a conference that looks like there's going to be a lot of face-off by committee, the number one gold standard goal for any coach when it comes to face-offs is getting all of your face-off guys on the depth chart to pull for each other, which is challenging because it's very much a quarterback mentality, right? And if you can have, as long as the guys know what their role is, it doesn't matter if it's a starter, the counter guy who's the second string guy, or the freshman or sophomore on the sideline who's holding the iPad to watch every face-off, right? I think that's a huge tool because then if I was a coach, I would make absolutely sure that every timeout or every time my guys came off the field, that my goalies congregated and talked about what they're seeing. So the backup, I expect my backup to talk to my starter and say, this is what they're doing on offense. This is how they're rotating, or maybe there's a backside mambo you got to be careful about. And then the same thing on faceoffs. If I'm backing up the team starter and he runs off the field, the first thing I would want as a starter is, yo, Greg, just so you know, on that faceoff, the LSM slid upfield right before the whistle. Or, hey, every time you clamp it, he's stepping to his right to take off your offensive break. If there is a congregation on the sideline and a constructive talk, then the starter doesn't have time to be mad he lost the faceoff. Instead, he's taking in information. And we always talk about that in pre-chat with FOA, be analytical, not emotional, right? You have the time, you lose the faceoff to the time you get to the sideline to feel bad for yourself. But once you cross that sideline, if you have 3 guys on your depth chart that play your position and understand what you're going through, and you can talk to them and look on the iPad and say, this is what they're doing, this is what I need to correct, man, that changes the whole mental output of not just the faceoff guy, not just the unit, but the whole sideline. And I think we need to see teams doing that this year, especially in the MAC.
Yeah, and I think that also as well, I think the scouting aspect for S&G, how it's different from knee down. Before it used to be, okay, he has fast hands, he's a heavy clamper. You know, there's all these random terms you'd say, but at the end of the day, no, it wouldn't do anything. But I think with stand neutral grip, you can say, okay, his left hand's coming up every single time. He doesn't exit back ever, never goes through the legs. He doesn't use his wings. I mean, it's a little bit at times could be more cut and dry with standing. But I think being able to look at film before a game, you know, as a freshman or sophomore, even if you're not being the starter and point things out, is great. And that's a huge asset to your team. But I think that understanding faceoffs, you know, and understanding what's actually happening technique-wise, if you can do that as a freshman or sophomore, by the time you get that big role later in your career, then that's huge, and you'll set yourself up for success.
Yeah, absolutely. And and you hit the nail on the head. I do think faceoffs are more cut and dry now because there was only so much you could do when it was knee down, right? I think most of my time doing film with college programs on a knee was about their own guys and their technique, where I feel like game planning now with SNG is, of course, you want to teach them right so that they know how to do the entire array of moves, all 6 layers. But once you know how to do all those things, then it's about just studying your opponent and looking at what you can make them pay for. I was having a conversation with a guy today, a kid who's going to be playing this weekend, and I was saying, like, it's going to be tough because coaches this year, more than ever, are going to have to be patient. This is going to be more about studying your opponent and what the referees are letting happen out there, and then adjusting after the first 3 or 4 reps. Coaches, if they just start yanking guys after 3 losses in the first quarter, it's going to tumble out of control on them. So having a guy that you trust to go out there and be analytical and break down what's going on so that he can adjust in game, I think those are going to be the more successful teams.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt. No doubt about that.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks. This wraps up the doubleheader for today. We're going to try to hit 2 to 3 conferences on Friday and Saturday so that you guys are all wrapped up and caught up on all of our breakdowns. Thank you, Peyton. Appreciate your help, man. You were really awesome and insightful today.
Yeah, no problem. Appreciate you having me. Good stuff.
All right. We'll see you guys later. Have a good one.